Good morning and welcome to Wednesday Morning with Doug. Good morning, Doug. How are you today?
Very good, Tammy. And how are you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Okay, so today we're here with Doug, and Doug found something really important that we should go over. It kind of ties together everything we've been talking about with contingencies over the past few weeks. So, Doug, can you introduce what you wanted to tie everything together with?
Well, so we've been talking about contingencies and how to safeguard your investment when you're trying to buy a home, making sure that you get the home that you want, that you know what you're getting. In this fast-paced market, people are buying properties without contingencies, without a lot of contingencies, just to compete. Thankfully, the market's slowing down a little bit, and we're able to take some reasonable steps to protect ourselves. And so here are just our four basic contingencies that we think buyers should be thinking about, and their agents should be guiding them through when they go to buy a home, when they make an offer on a home. First one is just a financing contingency. It says that if you can't get the loan to buy the house, you're not in default. Your deposit's not at risk. And this can be a little tricky because somebody that makes good money and has a good credit score, that's a big part of it. But there's other subtleties in there that keep people from getting loans sometimes, or getting them for the amounts they want or for the interest rates they want. So a financing contingency is very important. Often we make them not contingent because we're so sure that they're going to get the loan, but that can be dangerous. If there's, like I said, there's some subtleties. It's where the source of funds comes from and how long you've been on the job and that sort of thing. People get surprised sometimes, so you want to make sure that you are pre-approved, but also try to keep a financing contingency in your offer and in the final agreement if you can. And then an inspection contingency. Well, often, most of the time now, when you make an offer on a home, you've got access to all of the inspections. The listing agent and the seller have done inspections, and so you can look at them. But you want to make sure, before you waive your contingency, you want to take a look at those and make sure that they're current. If there's 6 months old and there's a lot of problems with the property, you probably want to get a new, or at least an updated set of inspections. Also, there's a couple of almost hidden factors in the purchase agreement that fall under the property contingency. One is that if there's a lease on the house, solar lease, say, there's a new solar heating system or electrical system, can the buyer assume that lease? That's a contingency that's built in, and if you just say, I'm waiving all my property contingencies, you might remove that one without even realizing that you're doing it. And if you can't assume that lease, or we're finding out sometimes you don't want to assume that lease because it's horrible, that you've now, if you've removed your contingency, you've now removed a way out, and your deposit could be at risk. And also there's an insurance contingency. When you buy a home, you're going to want to put homeowners insurance on it, or some kind of liability policy, at least if it's going to be a rental property. There's a contingency in here that says that that insurance is available. And what happens sometimes is that if there's water damage, say a pipe bursts and a seller calls their insurance company comes out and they fix it and take care of it all, and then 2 years later they go to sell the house. Well, insurance agents have access to these old records, and maybe a house is uninsurable for a while if it's had major water damage, because there could be mold issues in it. So make sure that you can get insurance on the property before you remove that property contingency. We're looking at more than just, is the roof watertight? We're looking at a couple of subtle things like that. So make sure that you've got that in there. Appraisal contingency. This is one that we get stuck with sometimes. It can be a problem. So in this hot market, property is listed for, say, $1 million, and it gets bid up to 1.2. Well, why was it listed for $1 million to begin with? Generally, it's because that's what they thought the property was worth and what it should sell for. So if you're paying 1.2 for it and you're going to get an 80% loan, don't assume that it's going to appraise for that 1.2. If it only appraises for that original $1 million, you're going to have to make up that $200,000 delta between the $1 million and the $1.2 million. So if you're going to get a loan, make sure before you waive that contingency that it's not contingent on appraisal. Make sure that you've got adequate funds to cover a shortfall. And there's some other subtleties in there that you need to discuss with your agent, and it would take more time.
And we want to be mindful that there's a difference between the loan contingency and the appraisal contingency.
Correct. That's
Two
a good
totally
point.
different things.
Right, right. We try to tie them together sometimes, but that can be dangerous as well.
Okay.
The property, the contingency, both property and appraisal need to be removed separately. They used to be when you removed one, you removed them both, but now you remove them separately. And then if you've got a home to sell, make sure that you get a contingent in there. A lot of times we say, well, I'm going to make a contingent on me qualifying for obtaining the loan on the new house, and if I don't sell my old house, I'm not going to get approved. So I don't need to make a contingent on the sale of my home, knowing that making an offer contingent on the sale of another property is going to weaken my offer. But that's real dangerous, because if you can't get that new loan because you didn't sell your other property because of a hidden contingency, you could be in default, your deposit could be at risk. So there's 4 things that start the whole process of buying a home that you want to make sure is in your purchase agreement. Make sure your agent understands that, and as you go forward.
Well, thank you so much, Doug, for going over these 4 points. It really ties together what we've been talking about over the past 3 to 4 weeks about the importance of contingencies, how they are here for our protection. We should not neglect them due to being hasty due to a fast-moving market.
Yes,
We
exactly.
really appreciate that. And if you have any questions concerning the contingencies, don't hesitate to reach out to Doug or myself. We'll have contact information in the box, whether it's Facebook above, YouTube below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a wonderful week. Bye.
You too.